Hello everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. I will have to say welcome back to me as well because I'm back in Sydney. I'm back at home after 5 weeks roaming around in Japan. It's been an amazing trip. It's been, those of you who are friends with me in Facebook would have seen the photos. That is basically the only place on social media where I still post photos of my holidays. I don't know why, I just know that I do have all of my oldest friends there in Facebook, and so it just feels like it's easier for me to do so and for them to see where I am. It's been an amazing trip, but I have to say there's been a lot of misadventures. There always are, and it's something that makes the experience even more interesting, and whenever I think about them, I will probably remember these and I will laugh, but I can assure you that whilst these things were happening, I wasn't laughing. Namely, we've both been really sick, and I don't know if you can tell from my voice, and I'm so sick and tired of saying this, but I'm still sick. So I've been officially sick since April with probably just a couple of weeks of respite. And I really thought that going to Japan, where there's at least 35 degrees Celsius and 99.99% humidity, would have probably gotten rid of whatever bacteria or virus that I had, and respiratory virus or illness that I had, and it did. But then, of course, I caught something that apparently is just really sweeping through in Japan lately. It's just, you're hearing it first. It's another virus. It's very similar to the flu, and it just makes you cough and sneeze and you feel miserable. And of course we caught it because, you know, we wanted to get integrated into the culture, and that meant also, you know, catching the local virus. So now I'm feeling like I have not been away for 5 weeks because we're back to where I was 5 weeks ago. So my voice is a bit like that, but so be it. And I'm really hoping that, because Australia is going through the middle of winter and going back towards spring in probably 4 weeks time, I'm really hoping that you know, I will definitely get better. Thank you for all of the supportive messages that I received. In the meantime, it's always really nice. So as a first video that I want to post today, that I'm back, I have received, in the meantime, whilst I was away, I've received so many packages of tarot decks and oracle decks that have been sent to me, many of them for review. And so I have a lot of content that is going to come your way. Be patient. It's just going to take me probably a couple of weeks to go through all of the things that I want to show you, but I will go back to a normal schedule. But the first one that I really want to talk about is an oracle deck that is really hot right now on Kickstarter, and I do receive a lot of questions, a lot of emails from many of you, many of my members and many of my subscribers on what am I backing currently on Kickstarter, because I do these type of videos perhaps twice a year. I do like to take my time, because I don't just look at Kickstarter and I pick and choose. Most of the time I am very, let's say, difficult to please when it comes to decks that I want to back when I go on Kickstarter. It's mostly because of the cost, obviously, but it's also because lately the trend has been that many Kickstarter decks have been published and, you know, sent off as rewards to the Kickstarter campaign backers, and then after 6 months or a year, we do see these same decks being picked up mass market and being released at a fraction of a price. And in many cases, if you buy them through Amazon, for example, if you have a Prime membership, you don't even pay for shipping. And to be honest with you, that meant for me that I'm actually refining my taste when it comes to Kickstarter campaigns. I don't know whether that's gonna last or not. It is a trend that it is undeniable lately, but I feel like I'm 100% confident to say that this that I'm going to show you is a deck that I back with 100% certainty that it's going to be an amazing experience. And the reason why I say that is not just because I actually personally know the artist behind this deck, and many of you know her because she is very well known and loved throughout the tarot community and also the tarot tube community. But it's also because I have backed a previous Kickstarter campaign by the same creator, and it was one of the smoothest campaigns I've ever seen. And I'm not just talking tarot and oracle decks, I'm talking about actual Kickstarter campaigns from, 10 years of Kickstarter campaigns that I've been backing, and not just about decks. So it's been smooth when it comes to communication, it's been smooth when it comes to the really thorough information that we find on the website, on the campaign, information that comes in forms of videos, Instagram posts, emails, response to our questions. It was absolutely smooth when it comes to the communication of the cost of the shipping, for example, the stretch goals, everything. It was something that was a joyous experience, and I know that this deck, which is the third deck actually by this creator, is going to be absolutely the same. So of course many of you will have recognized who I'm talking about by now. I'm talking about Lisa Pape's Unicorn's Journey Oracle. So it's this deck here. I have received this deck as a prototype from Lisa. My heart exploded when Lisa sent me an email saying, hey, by the way, how are you? And how would you feel about presenting my deck, the prototype of my deck, during the campaign? I'm going to send you a prototype, and, I would love for you to talk about it and show it to your subscribers. And I'm like, well, Lisa, duh. Yeah, no, you know what? I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, let me think. Yeah, of course I'm going to show your deck. So I was absolutely stoked that she chose me. And there's a lot of others of us in the tarot community, in the tarot tube community, that have been chosen in order to present her prototype to the world. And I feel a little bit nervous because I have to say I really want to do a good job. And so I've decided to do this video and divide it in two parts, but it's going to be posted at the same time. So for you that are watching this video, this is going to be one video, but for me, this is going to be filmed in two different times. This is going to be an unboxing, the first part of the video, and then I'm going to work with this deck because I really want to talk to you about how the deck relates to me, right? I want to give you the experience of working with this deck, and I want to give you my honest opinion, and I know that Lisa would absolutely appreciate that. So it's not just about saying go on Kickstarter and back this deck, and yes, I am saying that because I know there's going to be an incredibly smooth experience, but it's also about giving you my very own personal way of relating to this deck. And I'm really hoping that this is going to help, because I would love for people presenting prototypes of decks, whether it's Kickstarter campaigns or new decks that are going to come out, not just with an unboxing, but also with an experience on how to work with these cards and how it feels to relate with the cards. And so this is what I'm going to do. So this is the first part of the video, so we're just going to have a look at an unboxing. So as you can see here, I've got my cutter. So it came with no less than 9, and I mean 9, and I'm showing them here, pouches or bubble wrap. So let me just tell you, when I saw the box, I was a bit worried because I knew that I had to expect this in the mail. But when I saw it, was slightly larger than I expected, the actual parcel. And so I was like, it can't be the deck. It's got to be something else. And so I didn't know what it was, but then I dove in and it was so well wrapped. And I know that this is not, it doesn't mean that your Kickstarter campaign, if you back this Kickstarter, is going to come with 9 wrappers like this. But this to me is already telling me how passionate Lisa is for her products. you know, she probably, I can actually picture her talking to the fulfillment center where they shipped out these decks, saying, make sure that nothing happens to the decks. And, you know, and she probably went on and on about this with the people responsible, to the point that they sent it with 9 wrappers. So that was actually really funny. So also, obviously, this is because it shows that it's completely new. So this is, I believe, what you can expect. This is the wraparound magnetic box, which is the same that we have seen for the Unicorn Journey Tarot. So obviously, looking at these two together, and let me just zoom in slightly so we can actually see them side by side. You will see that they are very similar. So they feel of a similar weight, I would have to say. The tarot deck, of course, has got more cards than the oracle deck, so it is slightly thicker, as you can see. But when it comes to the specification of the box, it is a wraparound magnetic box. So I'm just going to open it. So give me a second. Okay, so as I said, wraparound magnetic box, so very easy to lift the flap here, and it opens up like this. And I really love the fact that there is always a quote. I know that that's something that a lot of creators do. Sometimes I love the quote, sometimes I don't. It really is personal. Let's just have a look at this one, because I already peeked at the name of the author, and I love E.E. Cummings. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best, night and day, to make you everybody else, means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight, and never stop fighting. Love E.E. Cummings, one of my favorite poets of all times. I have multiple books of the same, basically of the same script, of the same poems, but I absolutely really love him. And I am very familiar with this quote. It's something that I believe also, I did not quote E.E. Cummings, but I was presenting a deck in one of my latest videos, and I was talking about a tarot deck which is called I Am Not a Doll. I don't know if you watched that video, but basically that's a tarot deck that can be found. It's an indie tarot deck that can be found in Tevada. It's by a Thai artist. And the fact that, you know, we talk about I am not a doll. I am who I am. I mean, there's no two ways around that. Too many times we fight, and as E.E. Cummings was saying, we fight against a world that is trying day and night, so constantly trying to make everybody else the same. You know, and you fight to be yourself, and no matter who you are, you need to fight to be yourself. And it's also because, and there's a lot of writers that you know, insist on this concept, and I really like it. And sorry about the fact that I'm going a bit off on a tangent here, but I also remember Oscar Wilde saying, you know, be yourself because everyone else is taken. And I always love that quote, because to me it's like, you know what, it's just, let's just be who we are, because it is exhausting to always pretend to be something or someone that we're not. And so here I am, yes, with my voice still sounding like shit, I'm still being sick, and honestly being exhausted of being sick, because April, May, June, July, almost 4 months. But I love making videos, and you know, I'm sorry about the sound of my voice, but here I am. This is my face, these are my hands. I didn't even do my nails, sorry about that, but I've just got back yesterday after a 5 weeks trip around Japan, and we are just exhausted. But I really wanted to get back to you, to the community. And maybe I would have I don't know, I should have waited a couple of days, but this is me. So here I am. I'm fighting against the idea of being presentable. So if I'm not presentable, sorry. So just diving into the deck. So really beautiful quote, Lisa, absolutely 100% love it, love E.E. Cummings. So as we can see here, it comes with a little white book or an accompanying book. Really love the feel of the book, by the way. It feels very soft, it feels very velvety. So when it comes to specifications, please have a read in the Kickstarter campaign page, because Lisa is always paying so much attention to details, and every single question you have that is not already specified in the page, she will answer. So she answers all of your questions. Trust me, believe me, I have absolutely no problem in assuring you that, because I know that she will, and she always does. So if even if you ask something that is already actually in the page, but you want some further information about it, she will answer. So ask her if you have any kind of doubts. Really love the crystal, obviously the crystal tower here, because it's a symbol of protection. I really love that. And of course we're going to see lots of unicorns, which is something that is going to make me very happy. I love the colors, by the way, as well. And as we have seen, for example, for the other decks as well, I really love the fact that whenever there's a deck that divides its cards in categories, I really like the idea of being reminded of the colors. And the way in which Lisa has chosen to remind us of the colors is to color the edges of the pages on the little white book as well. So it is much easier to find the card you're looking for. Obviously, when it comes to a tarot deck, it will be the minors and the majors divided in suits. In this case, I'm expecting the oracle cards to be divided as well. So the illustrator is still Francesca Paiocchi, which makes me really happy because Francesca is Italian and I'm Italian as well. And so I can actually pronounce her name correctly. So let me just tell you, one of my closest friends of all time is called Francesca. And but I met her, she's Italian, but I met her when we both used to live in London, and the times in which her name is being mispronounced, it always makes me laugh so hard. But yes, it is Francesca Paiocchi, and it's the same illustrator as the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. So obviously we will be able to see these similarities between the cards. For those who have walked this journey with me, my chosen family, YouTube community, Kickstarter backers, Unicorn Fam channel members, and I'm one of them, and everyone who believed in this project, your encouragement and support have made this possible. This is for you. Amazing dedication. Thank you, Lisa. And really beautiful, the unicorn and the rabbits and the fox. Really, really beautiful here. And then we do have a table of contents that tells us about as you can see here, there have been divisions into categories, and we see, for example, the spirit cards, the fire cards, water, air, earth, and then about the creator and about the illustrator, as we expected. So about the deck, and we get to know a little bit of the story behind this. I am a member of Lisa's channel membership, and so I know, actually, we talked about this many times. I remember actually witnessing the very first drawings of the cards about probably a few months ago, so it was very exciting to be witnessing this. And so you can read all about this obviously in the intro of the deck, and then we're going to go through the spirit sword, self-worth theme. So all of the suits have a bit of a theme, which I really like. And then we're moving on to the fire suit. And okay, so in this case, the fire suit, so let me just read it, sorry about that. So this is an unboxing, so obviously I may make mistakes when I'm going through them. So the spirit suit features a single main character, Mystic the Unicorn, and their interactions with the other inhabitants of Lumiveria. And then we're moving on to the fire suit. The fire suit features the dragons and fire unicorns that inhabit the realm of fire in the magical land Lumiveria. And then we're moving on to the water suit. The water suit features the sea nymphs and water unicorns that inhabit the realm of water in the magical land Lumiveria. So obviously we're referring to the alchemical elements, and obviously these alchemical elements can also be paired up with the alchemical elements divided in the suit of the tarot deck. So the air suit, obviously air sylphs and air unicorns. And then obviously the earth suit, which features the gnomes and earth unicorns. So It is a deck that if you want to work together with the Unicorn's Journey Tarot, it will pair up really nicely. I haven't tried it yet because this is the part of the video in which I'm just doing the unboxing, but I will try that and I will tell you how they pair up together. So I'm not gonna read anything else. Obviously there is a little bit about Lisa here and about Francesca. Hi Francesca. And their contacts also if you want to check them out. But I will, I promise you that I will work with the two decks together in order to be able to tell you whether they are pairing up, but I am expecting it to be the case or not. So then moving on, we see the certificate of authenticity. It's always nice, and I'm expecting this to be the final cardstock because I see already it is the very beautiful soft linen finish. That is one of my favorite. It means that it's easy to shuffle, it's easy to find out, it's easy to handle. There's a number of things that we as tarot reader and collectors after so many years, we do become picky when it comes to cardstock, but it's also because we deal with these decks on a daily basis, I don't know, 10, 12 times a day. And imagine if you were dealing with a deck with a cardstock that is actually not easy to handle. Would you be happy about picking it up, you know, for a reading, for example? I'm not. Sometimes I'm actually turned off by terrible cardstock. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm always very picky when it comes to these kind of details. So these are the backs, by the way. As you can see here, it does remind me also of the UJT, we call it UJT, the UJO and the UJT, so Unicorn's Journey Tarot and Unicorn's Journey Oracle. So it reminds me of the tarot deck. They seem very similar, but I will show you later in more detail. Love the colors here, and also I don't know if you can tell because I'm just gonna try and move the card in such a way that you can see that, but there is this holographic kind of sparkle in the middle, and I really love that. I think it's a very nice detail. And so we're going to have a look at the cards. There's also another quote here, but this is, I believe, coming from Lisa. May your magic always shine from the inside out. This is something that has been a bit of a slogan for Lisa ever since I have known her through her channel or her books, for example. You know, talking about your shining, your possibility to shine your magic, you know, and the magic that is within yourself and shining it through in order for others to be able to see it, but it's also in order for you to feel like you can show this aspect of yourself to others. This has been really important in Lisa's career, in Lisa's life, I imagine, and so it's very nice to see the consistency throughout all of her products and everything that she does. And so as I expected, is absolutely fantastic to fan out. I really love this one. It's so easy and it feels like it wants to be used. So this is, you can keep it as a, you know, an oracle deck that you have for collection purposes, absolutely. But when a deck just fans out like a charm like that, don't you want to fan it out? I do. I really want to do that and I really want to use it. So I'm imagining them to be already in order. And so there's a couple of things. I don't know when to talk about them, but let me just bring back the email that Lisa has sent to all of us who are showing this prototype for you guys. Okay, so I'm reading directly from the email Lisa has sent us. When she sent through the prototype, she said, by the way, there will be a couple of changes, not many changes, fewer than 10, but there will be a couple of changes in the final version of the deck. And so obviously we will see these changes, but we do not see them yet in the cards I'm going to show you. So if you pay as much attention to details as Lisa does and I do as well, these things are actually quite interesting to know. And I've already found out that one of these changes I actually really like and I prefer it. So I'm just gonna probably zoom in a little bit more. So I'm reading here so the semi-transparent banner. So this is obviously the banner at the bottom here. So this banner has been, let's say, positioned here in order for us to be able to read the keywords with easiness, because obviously sometimes, you know, there's background colors that are making it difficult to read the keywords. And so when there's a banner, it makes it slightly easier, and I always appreciate when a creator does that. But Lisa says, the semi-transparent banner was made slightly larger on the top side. So I don't know if you can see here, the keyword is awakening. So on the bottom side, it feels like it's perfect. There is enough, let's say, space between the word and the rest of the card. So the banner is centered. I don't know how else to explain that. But on the top, it feels like it could be slightly higher. And this is actually one of the changes that she has implemented. So to create a little more room between the top of the text here and the top of the banner. And the entire text block and banner were moved up slightly on the card to ensure a little more full color at the bottom edge of the card. So there is something that I know that it's a detail, and I know that a lot of you will say, well, I'm not really interested in that, to be honest, I just want to see the cards. But if you are like me and like Lisa, and you do appreciate these kind of details, I think that you will appreciate knowing this. There's a lot of other, let's say, changes. Not a lot, there's a couple of more changes, but these are referred to cards in specific. So I'm just gonna keep them here, and whenever I see that card, I will talk about the change. But when it comes to this kind of attention to details, personally, I know that Lisa wants to aspire to perfection, and I do appreciate that. And there's a lot of people that I know will appreciate that. So this is something that you will notice. Okay, so I just went through the deck and found the other cards that will show some minor change, so we can talk about that. So we've got the discernment and reflection cards, so 1 and 2. As we go here, by the way, striking colors, oh my goodness, look at the saturation of these colors, they're absolutely amazing. Really, really love this. The blues and the greens and the purples, absolutely lovely together. So the discernment and the reflection cards both feature octopi, yeah, as you can see here. Francesca updated the art at my request to make sure that 8 limbs can be seen or counted. Okay, gotcha, because okay, so as you can see, there is an octopus here and an octopus here, but you cannot count all of the 8 limbs. Can be counted rather than having the extra limbs tucked away out of sight. So there is one change. As I said, it's minor changes, but for some of us, that will actually make sense, and I do appreciate knowing about this. And then we've got the Bloom and Fear cards, so you can see them here, absolutely gorgeous as well. Really, really cute unicorn, baby unicorn, if I may say. So in this case, we're adjusted so we can see the earth unicorn's bumps and tails. There you go. There you go here in the cards, rather than just the front part of their bodies. So that is something that we'll see in the updated version. I completely relate to the fear card, by the way. Anxiety, discomfort and uncertainty with this snake. Completely 100% relate to that, because I live in Australia. And there could have been a spider, there could have been a snake. You know, if you know, you know. And then the Wounded card title. So this is the Wounded card. Was changed to Woundedness. And a few supporting keywords were updated. So obviously we can expect, so Lisa says as a caveat, just know that there might be still a few changes that may be made to the cards during the campaign. But we know this, we know that. It's obvious, it's something that we can always expect whenever there's a production of something, especially when it's something creative, when it's something that is so artistic, there may be changes. But these are the ones that she pointed out to us, and so I just wanted to share them with you. And now let's just have a look at the cards, because I'm curious as much as you are to see them. So really beautiful, as always. I'm always really appreciative of Francesca's power in expressing the magic of Lisa's words. So I think that Lisa and Francesca actually made a great couple when it comes to creativity. because as we've seen in the UJT, so in the tarot deck, there is this easiness for me as a user to understand the magic that is going on in the cards. And it's, sometimes there can be a fantastic writer. They can be amazing when they're describing a card, when they imagine this card. If it's the case of an oracle deck, there can be fantastic keywords, for example. But if you don't have this participation, if you don't have this synchronicity, I would call it, between the person that is creating in their mind the deck and a person that is actually creating the design and the drawings, if you do have a disconnect there, the magic doesn't shine through. There's no two ways around that. And obviously I have had a few experiences in buying decks where I absolutely loved the way the creator was writing, for example, the book, but then I didn't think that the images were actually showing the intention behind the words. And in this case, I can assure you, it's just absolutely amazing. It does shine through, and I really love it. I'm sorry, I actually stopped at the nurturing card because I really love it. I really like the fact that we see here, this is a cloud of fish. I hope that is the right collective name. If not, apologies for that. But it is in the shape of a star, and I think it's really fantastic. So nurturing card is about self-care, support and comfort. So obviously I also really like the fact that we've got a main keyword like passivity in this card, or rejection. And then we show, look at the shame card. I remember, for example, I don't remember exactly whether it was this card or another card, but there were a couple of cards that were, let's say, very useful in a certain type of shadow work that Lisa was showing us. And, when she was still creating this deck. And I remember thinking, Lisa knows how to do a very, very thorough shadow work. And so this is going to be a fantastic deck, I'm expecting, because I haven't used it yet, but I'm expecting it to be very helpful in, understanding what is going on within ourselves. And so this card, this is the shame card, and yes, it is very intense, okay, and it may also be triggering, but that is something that is cathartic at the same time. And so I really love the fact that there are these pointed fingers at these figures that is kind of refusing to acknowledge them, refusing to look at them, and just trying to curl up within themselves, and and shine away from everything else. And that is something that we all go through. And that is something that is very important to do and to recognize and to feel like we are understanding what things make us feel this way in the world in order to be able to recognize them and then possibly working with them and releasing them. So this is already something that even when I look at the main title or the main keyword of the card and then I read the others, but I also relate to the elements on the card, it works really, really well. So self-reproach, inner critic and wallowing, and that is absolutely fantastic. I think is already one of the cards that I like the best in this deck. Solitude, really powerful, really beautiful. I mean, trust, look at this card, isn't it just absolutely cute and very tender? And very poignant as well, because there is this turtle that is swimming upwards towards the surface, and obviously the unicorn mystique, having this sense of trust. And the sense of trust is depicted by the eyes being closed, so we can close our eyes around the persons in our lives that we know that they're not going to hurt us. So absolutely amazing. Surrender, integrity and honor. Vulnerability, authenticity, really gorgeous, taking away, just tearing away that mask that sometimes we feel like we have to wear. And the monolith here with clarity, really beautiful communication, whispering in the year of the unicorn, communication, connection, listening, because communication is not just about talking, it's about listening, and it's not about listening to respond. Because that is something that I always tell people, and also my members, we were talking about this in one of my latest videos, because we've been doing a lot of work on shadow work in the month of July. And I was saying, listening, most of us, and it's not our fault, it's probably society that conditioned us this way, but we listen to answer, we don't listen to understand, and so we actually miss out what the other person is going through sometimes. So listen to understand, don't listen to know what you're going to say back to someone who's talking to you. Responsiveness, confusion, really powerful. Curiosity, go through the waterfall, look at the other side, really gorgeous. Detachment, distraction, doubt, absolutely. Evaluation, gorgeous. False beliefs. Let me just read the further keywords this, because it's something that is really resonating with me. Fantasy, fallacy, misinterpretation, absolutely. Whenever we believe that we're not enough, that's a false belief. Looking at ourselves through the lens of what society wants us to think, that we're too big, that we need to slim down, or we need to bulk up, or we need more makeup or less makeup, or we need to dress in a certain way, or we need to behave in a certain way. I was talking about this when I was presenting the I Am Not a Doll deck, because it really feels like there's a lot coming from the tarot world, the tarot community lately, telling people that it doesn't matter what we believe so far. If we think that we need to present to others a face of ourselves that is not the true face, then that is a false belief. And I really like that. It's a fallacy, it's a misinterpretation, absolutely. This unicorn looking at the mirror and seeing the wings as, just very skinny and not strong enough. So this is us thinking that we're not strong enough, or we're not good enough, or we're not beautiful enough, or we're not smart enough, and so on and so on. And and it's just the fallacies in the mirror. It's not in ourselves, but unfortunately this is the way we look at us, and this is what we see in this mirror. And so we need to work on the way in which we see ourselves. Really gorgeous. Frustration, yes. Mindfulness, perspective, boundaries, loving this with the ball. Sorry, I just really love it. Depletion, yeah, absolutely. This feels like a Ten of Wands card. Groundwork, harvest. This is obviously that they are divided in suits, so I'm going through the suit of the earth, and it really feels like it's not just because of the colors or the predominance of certain earthy tones in the cards themselves, but it's also because of the concept that is expressed in the cards. Self-reliance and self-sabotage. Hi! If you know, you know. Shaky ground, absolutely, really gorgeous. I really love this concept. Instability, fragility and precariousness. Sustenance and wisdom. Experience, good judgment and prudence. Now that we have seen all of the cards, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to stop this video for now, but as I said, you'll be able to see, because I'm going to splice it together with the second part of the video, in which I'm going to show you how I work with this. I'm going to tell you my first impression working with the deck, and I'm going to show you also a couple of pairings, so stay tuned. And I'm back. So I've taken a couple of hours to get to know this deck, and I have to say the first thing that comes to mind is support. And it makes sense, because obviously when I think about Lisa's work and her practice and the way in which she also relates to people, whether they are subscribers or members of her channel or even friends or her closest community, it feels like it really reflects the way she is as a person. So she is very incredibly supportive, and this is a deck that more than the tarot deck feels very supportive. And the reason why I'm saying more than the tarot deck is because obviously with the tarot deck, I imagine, I never created a deck, so I could be completely wrong, but I imagine that when you are creating a tarot deck, you obviously, especially if it's an RWS based, let's say, deck, you have already a canvas that has been already you have a set of guidelines. You understand what I mean? And so you can challenge that set of guidelines and you can make it personal, but at the same time, if there's a Four of Cups, for example, and it needs to point to a certain meaning of the card, you cannot really go away too much from that meaning. And so obviously a tarot deck needs to be more than supportive, it needs to feel like it's true doesn't it? It needs to feel like it's an instrument for you to do a proper job in doing a reading, for example. So if it's a divination meaning, obviously, if it's something that belongs to your practice, it could also be shadow work, but it feels like it's more instrumental. It feels like a tarot deck needs to be more functional. This oracle deck, I think that Lisa felt like she had more freedom, and I don't know, I could be completely wrong. So Lisa, if you're watching this and it's not true, please feel free to write a comment and say, no, you're completely off. Sorry about that. It feels like she probably felt like she had less of a guideline, and so she could put more of herself into the cards, and it shows and you can actually feel it. And so it's a very supportive deck. Does that mean that it's a hard deck? No. I wouldn't say it's a hard deck. I would say it's a deck that feels supportive because it is there by your side whenever you're doing a certain type of work. But it's not a deck that camouflages the truth. I hope I'm making sense. So this is the first thing that I feel like telling you about working with this deck. And let me just say that let me just show you, because it's so much easier to show things rather than telling them, right? So obviously, I have worked with this deck together with the UJT, so the tarot deck created by Lisa. And because these are siblings, obviously, and we know that siblings, it's a bit of a hit and miss sometimes, in the sense that siblings share at least a lot of their genetic makeup, and so we expect them to be very similar. But because in the debate of nature versus nurture, we know that nurture is extremely important as well. And so this is something that made me say that the oracle deck is more supportive than the tarot deck, because whilst working with them, it felt like the tarot deck was saying, yeah, no, you know, this is true. And the oracle deck was saying, yeah, it might be true, but hey, you can still make it. You'll be okay. But in a very, let's say, positive and constructive way. So let me just show you. Let's see if, you know, I need to recreate the circumstances that made me say that. And that is not something that I can make up. So I need it to work. But just so you know, this is absolutely amazing. These two feel fantastic together. You know, you can really tell that the production is very similar, and the cardstock is amazing in both of them. So if you have the UJT, so the tarot deck, and you want to know how, from a tactile point of view, the oracle deck will feel like, just touch your tarot deck and it will be exactly the same. So in case you like them to be level, then you have to take out some of the cards from the oracle deck. In case you prefer them, you know, you prefer to have the option of using all of the oracle cards, then you just leave it like this. It's fine. This is what I'm going to do, because through the lens, it doesn't necessarily create any kind of difference between the three piles of cards. And let's just start with a bit of a flowing kind of revealing of the cards, because I like to do it this way first. So we got the Temperance card and the Six of Water, and then Doubt. And we immediately start seeing what at least because this is the third or fourth time that I'm doing this exercise, obviously there is a pattern, and I can already recognize this pattern. So the oracle deck, even when there is a card that is kind of triggering you, or perhaps it is one of those cards that you feel like using when you're doing shadow work. So doubt, of course. Doubt is very important. We use doubt to grow, but we also use doubt in order to second guess ourselves sometimes. So skepticism and apprehension, because it is something that comes to you when you're doubting yourself, you're apprehensive, you think that you can't make it, and reservation. So you're kind of guarded. You don't really jump into things as you used to. For example, if you're like me and you like to travel, when you can feel yourself growing older, because some of the things that I used to do when I was 20, I don't do that anymore, or I think twice about doing them because I have doubts that I can actually do it. But we have the Six of Water. And so obviously there is this sense of, as I just said, you remembered yourself when you were in a Six of Cups or Six of Water situation in which you remember an easier time, when things were not as jaded, or you were not as guarded, and you were also a little bit more naive. And let's be honest, you probably made a lot more mistakes than you're doing now, because you were jumping into things with an easiness that you probably do not have anymore. So there is this sense of nostalgia for that time, or at least in my case, I feel like I am nostalgic for that time. But at the same time, we feel the power of water and feelings also coming from the Temperance card, because obviously the Temperance card, you know, the traditional depiction of this card is this movement between these two vases or vases of water, you know, and that indicates the passing of time. So there is this idea that, yes, doubt is with you once you find yourself in a situation in which you are really not sure you can do something anymore. I used to could, but now I can't. But at the same time, it tells you that things change, water passes, it goes through under the bridge, and it brings a sense of healing. So there is this sense of healing that is coming from the Temperance card. There is this sense of sometimes being stuck in the past because the past was easier, or you think that it was easier. Perhaps when I was 20, I was probably taking more risks, but it wasn't easier because I was more scared. I had less experience, and so things felt different with me. So doubt actually is helping me grow, helping me decide what battles you actually take in my life, you know, what to fight for, but also how to grow. So it's supportive in this way. I hope that I'm explaining myself, and let's just go on. So we got the Page of Water and the Two of Fire with disconnection, you know, and there is this sense of disconnection because the Two of Fire brings a little bit of disconnection. It's the Two of Wands, obviously, and it's the moment in which you're holding your whole world in the palm of your hand and you think it is not that big. It's not as big as I thought it was, and maybe I need to expand my horizon. Maybe I need to seek for something else beyond the borders, the confines of what it is now that I'm holding. And so there is this sense of disconnection because you're not sure that what you've got is enough anymore. But at the same time, you have that energy of the Page of Water, and you also have that empathy of the Page of Water. So you want to experience everything that is around you. So really, so as you can see, you can actually build a story. You don't necessarily need to be a storyteller in order to build a story coming out of the keywords, because the keywords of the Oracle deck are incredibly talkative. They are very eloquent. You can very much relate to them. And so you let yourself bring to the surface whatever feelings you have and you want to talk about, and the cards give you the opportunity to talk about them. Which is something that, you know, it is exactly what I need an Oracle deck to do. That's the job that I think an Oracle deck has got when they have been created. So divine connection with the Ten of Water and the Four of Earth. Obviously there is the Ten of Water and the Four of Earth, which in turn, you know, talk about a situation of everything that feels that belongs to you. It belongs to your world. And you keep it like the Four of Earth. You know, think about the Suit of Earth is the Suit of Pentacles. Of the Four of Pentacles, you really want to put all of your resources, everything you've got in front of you, like this unicorn is doing, all of these gems, and you lock them down with 4 locks because you don't want to lose them. You don't want anyone to steal them from you. But at the same time, there is this divine connection, faith, and limitless, which are the keywords of the divine connection card that tell you that perhaps sharing is not so bad. And so you refer to the Ten of Water, in which there is this reminding yourself about the community that is around you, that needs to be part of what you have, and it needs to take joy in the joy that you're experiencing. So, as I said, very communicative, very eloquent, really relying on these keywords that are very, very powerful. It works really well. Obviously, as I was saying earlier, siblings will share a lot of their genetic makeup. So we're seeing, for example, it is the same illustrator, it is the same creator. So yes, of course, it's got the same vibe as the tarot deck. If you don't have the tarot deck, I'm imagining you are looking at the cards for the first time and you're seeing it. And by the way, I really do believe that the UJT, so the tarot deck, will be available or already is available in Lisa's Etsy shop. So you can still buy the tarot deck if you do not have it and you're interested in it. But really, really eloquent, very, very strong readers. Both of them absolutely strong readers. We got determination with the Ace of Earth. Of course, you need to be determined because you have the resources and now finally you can start a new project. But there's also the Four of Water, which is telling you that perhaps you don't really know how to move around this project and you need to start, you want to start, but you're not convinced about what you're doing, you're not convinced about what's on offer, you're not convinced about which items to pick in order to start. So as you can see, it really lets you do a lot of work, and it really let's say, it transforms itself depending on what use you want to apply to this deck. So are you doing shadow work? Are you doing inner child work? Are you doing supportive work? Are you doing, I don't know, divination work? There's always something, there's always an intention. And these two decks together actually really, you can feel this plasticity between them and, you know, the fact that you're using them in a certain way. So I really can testify, as a tarot reader of many, many years, I can testify that these two together are absolutely fantastic. But let's have a look at another couple of decks that I felt like using together with this Oracle deck. And I believe that they really pair up nicely. So let's see. So as I was saying, I actually tried out a few different decks, and one that came to mind whilst I was using the Unicorn's Journey Oracle was a storytelling deck. So I kept on feeling like I was looking at an Oracle deck that was telling me a story, or that made me that gave me an easiness in telling a story, you know, looking at the cards, reading the keywords. And so I thought to myself, what about if I use it with a storytelling deck, an actual storytelling deck? And so I tried it out with this one, which is the Storyteller's Tarot by David De Pasquale. And this has been released by, I believe, Hay House, although I cannot find, yes, Hay House, as you can see here. This is a slightly larger deck, so generally speaking, I prefer when my tarot decks have a slightly smaller kind of size, because then it's easier to handle them. I do have small hands, but it could be perfectly fine if you have normal size hands. Lucky you, I don't. But in order to be able to show you how well these two actually go together, and apologies about the rate of light. It is very sunny today. It is the middle of winter in Sydney, but it is very sunny today, which is very nice, which means that I will probably go out for a walk later. So these two, the Storyteller's deck is about storytelling, yes, but fairy tales basically. It's about a lot of fairy tales. It's about different places in a fairy tale and how do they relate to the meanings of the cards they're used to depict. So it is an interesting concept that the creator has applied to this deck, and I found that it is a very talkative deck as well. So I'm kind of expecting these two decks to have a little bit of a chat together. And when it comes to the colors, you know, sometimes we just tend to pay too much attention, I feel, to how the aesthetics of two decks look like. And it's not necessarily something that let's say, it is one of my criteria. What do I look for in two decks in order to decide whether they pair up nicely or not? Of course, the aesthetics are very important, but it's not the deal breaker. So if the aesthetics are not exactly the same, but the vibes are the same, and you can feel that there is this kind of communication between the two decks, then by all means go for it. But obviously you need to do you know what works best for you ultimately you're the reader, you're the one using these decks, and if they work, then they work. So don't let anything or anyone distract you or make you change your mind on how to use a deck. These two, however, I feel like when it comes to the colors, I think we all agree they look really nice together. And I can assure you also when it comes to the art style, they resonate a lot, because we do feel like we're witnessing this kind of magical world. We are in a magical world in both of these decks. When it comes to the vibes, I just absolutely love it. And let me just give you one quick example. So we got the vulnerability card here from the Oracle deck. So vulnerability is the main title, and then we got as keywords, we got openness, we got receptivity, and we got unguarded. And I feel like these three keywords are actually helping me expand on the meaning of vulnerability. And when I look at them and I look at the cards that actually are together with this, the moon, and on the other side the Two of Hearts, isn't it something that we all experience, or at least that's the way in which I experience relationships? And whenever I look at the Two of Hearts and I look at this experiences, a relationship with someone else, and I feel my vulnerability coming to the surface, and sometimes also being a bit of an obstacle, because whenever I feel vulnerable, I also feel like I need to be guarded, and I feel like I cannot be as open as I would like to be, because I don't want to be hurt, and that's human, that's entirely human. So we feel the moon, you know, the uncertainty, but also the ebbs and flows of the moon coming to the surface in this type of relationship. But the vulnerability is here to tell me that it's okay to be open. It's okay to be receptive of not just what comes out of the other person, but of our soul as well. Because if I am feeling vulnerable, it is up to me to decide whether I feel safe enough with this person, with the Two of Hearts, you know, in order to be able to show my vulnerability to this person or not. So there is a lot here that can be done. If you're a tarot reader, I'm specifically talking to those of you who use tarot on a daily basis. I can recommend this combo because it will open up a number of possibilities in order to understand the reading, not just for divination. Obviously this is not for divination. This for me is more like something that I use in my own practice, but it is very plastic. It's very useful whenever you're looking for something for self-growth, and it makes sense. So really excellent. And that was just an example, but I could tell you the Three of Hearts and the Tower with healing, for example, or you know, the Mage and the Judgment card with illusion. So obviously the Mage and illusion, they work really well together. Are we talking about something that is a mirage? It's a distortion of what we have because the Mage has got the possibility to make things look like a mirage, or is it something that is actually the truth with the Judgment card? So is this something that is going to be revealed or not? So as you can see, works really well with this tarot, the Storyteller Tarot. But let me show you another couple of examples, and I think that you're gonna see how easy it is to actually work really well with this deck. So something else that comes to mind whenever I'm using the Unicorn's Journey Oracle is how good a deck it is for inner child work, but also a certain type of inner child. There's a number of things that you can do when you're doing inner child work. For me, it's all about healing a certain type of wound, which is very popular, by the way. And there's no shame in that, in admitting that our inner child needs some healing. So this is what came to mind when I was using the Oracle. And so I thought to myself, okay, so let's just, you know, because I want to try it out, I want to try things, and it's like playing for me. So obviously I felt like I was very enthusiastic about it. And what is a deck that I always use when it comes to inner child work is the Nicoletta Cecoli Tarot. So this is also a mass market deck. It's published by Lo Scarabeo. It's actually not a new deck. I think it was from probably 5 or 6 years ago. And there's also a mini. But I use this one because I actually like that it's got more or less the same size. Even though, of course, being a Los Carabao deck, by then they still made these decks with a lot of borders. It's fine. I really like it. It's kind of it's becoming a kind of a vintage look, if you can believe it, but I really like it. So I tried these two together, and I have to say this combo blew my mind. It is absolutely powerful, to the point that I recommend it for sure. But not for an everyday kind of use, if you know what I mean. Sometimes we need to take a break in between something that is so powerful. But I'm just going to show you, and obviously it is up to you. Let's have a look, see if it resonates with you or not. It does for me a lot. But as I say, sometimes you need to take a break. So this is something that you will not do every day. Probably just once a week, and that will be fine, or whenever you actually need it. So we have the Nicoletta Cecoli Tarot, which is incredibly powerful. And if you know this deck, you also know that there's a number of cards that are quite intense to the point of being triggering. So if this deck is not for you, that's absolutely fine. As I said, you know, we need to feel like we are working well with the deck. We don't have to force ourselves to like a deck or to work with it. If you do have it, if you use it, if you're okay with using it, then consider this pairing, because it is very, very powerful. So we got the pretense card between the King of Wands and the Two of Wands. And there's so much that, you know, it really feels like we are witnesses to this really strong communication between the cards. So in the pretense card, we've got this unicorn that is pretending to be a dragon. That is all about pretending to be something that you're not. And we're not discussing about the reason why you're pretending to be something that you're not. But we see that. We see that in the drawing. We see that in the image of the card. So there is this sense of wanting to belong. I'm expecting that to be the first reason. So there is deceit as a keyword, deceit, concealment, and misleading. But at the same time, we have this sense of knowing what is going on in the background with the King of Wands. And ironically, there's another dragon in the King of Wands from the Nicoletta Cecoli Tarot. So there is this dragon that is actually spitting fire and it's scaring someone. So there is this sense of being probably in something over the top. We're just in a situation in which we don't really know why with that we find ourselves there, and we feel like it's a bit too much, but we don't really know how to back down. It's almost as if we were thrown in the water and we've been told, or into the fire in this case, and we've been told that we have to just find our way out, and we are kind of lost and we don't really know what we're doing. Mind you, the Two of Wands can also be referring to the motivation that has been pushing us to pretend that we're something that we're not. Maybe we felt like we were living in a situation that it was a bit too tight for us. You know, remember that world that you hold in the palm of your hand, and it's a small world. It's smaller than what you thought it was, and so you think that you need to go out there and you need to somehow make sure that you find your tribe, but your tribe is not the one you want to be part of. If you're not a dragon, don't pretend to be a dragon, because it's not going to work. And so there is this sense of being in a situation and having to pretend and feeling that it's over the top, being overwhelmed, but at the same time you don't necessarily know how to get away from that. So very, very strong. As you can see, it's something that really resonates when you're doing a certain very powerful kind of inner child healing kind of work, or also shadow work. So as I said at the beginning of this conversation, please do not feel like you have to use it every day. It is not something that I do recommend that way. But these two are very powerful together. They're very strong. The messages that come out of both of these decks are incredibly powerful. And if you do need to do this kind of work, then I highly recommend it. So let me just show you another couple of decks that I feel really communicate really well with the Unicorn's Journey Oracle. So another deck that I feel works really, really well with the Unicorn's Journey Oracle is this one here. This is the Under the Oak Tarot. by Offrida and Strega delle Mele. So this is another Lo Scarabeo deck. I highly recommend these two together, simply because I feel that when it comes to storytelling, the Under the Oak Tarot is a storyteller's deck. I mean, it is the deck that really brings up that kind of trait of my personality, the storytelling side of myself that I really like and love and appreciate, and sometimes I'm at odds with, because it's normal, because we're all human beings. And I feel that when it comes to colors, when it comes to vibes, when it comes to even the artwork, we're looking at something that is very compatible. And so I'm just throwing it out there. If you have this deck, the Under the Oak Tarot, you might want to use it together with the Unicorn's Journey Oracle, because you will see it works really, really well. So there is this sense of communication again happening between the cards. It's something that is very amazing. It's one of the activities when it comes to being a tarot reader. One of the things that makes me happy, really happy about having a specific deck is pairing it up, when it pairs up so nicely with another deck. But it feels like I made this. It feels like I'm the one that thought that these two could work really well together. I tried it out and it does work, and when it does, it's a unique feeling, I can tell you. It's something that is very, very beautiful. It's very fulfilling. It makes you feel like you understand not just one deck, not just two decks, but how they can work together. And so it is a very rewarding experience. And if you know, you know, it's something that, you know, it is part of my activity, my personal practice. It has been for many, many years. But as you can see, these are absolutely gorgeous together. I really love the fact that we also see the same kind of shades between the colors, let's say. When we look at the shade of blue, it's the same shade of blue and greens and reds and so on and so forth. So it is, of course, we're talking about the aesthetics, but as I always say, the aesthetics is just not enough, and we're talking about vibes that are very similar, and the way in which we read them that is very similar. So we got the Shane card from the Oracle, and we talked about this card, which is very strong for me, and the Hermit. And you know, when there's Shane, you also feel like taking a time off, or at least that's the way I relate to the Shane card. You know, taking a time off and looking at what the Hermit is doing. And let's not forget that 2025 is the year of the Hermit, and so we can feel this very strong when it comes to everything related to our world. So the moment in which we feel like we need to take time off. But when we see it together with the Six of Pentacles, something is triggered within me. I'm thinking, well, okay, but I'm not alone. No man is an island. So preferably, you know, when you're working with yourself and you're working with that sense of shame and the reasons why you feel that way, you also feel like there is society there that is supposed to support you. You know, there is the Six of Pentacles that tells you it's not one way. There's this sense of giving and receiving that comes from that card. So this is really, really beautiful. You know, being able to make these kind of connections and build these bridges between the cards is something that obviously gives you so much more than when you're just using a deck by itself. And it's very, very communicative, as I said, very eloquent deck. So I am really, really stoked about being able to present this to you. And I have another deck that I wanted to show you. It's not a famous deck, and I don't know whether it's available or not. It is a deck that I bought in Japan. It is available in Japan, of course. I don't know whether it's available on Amazon Japan. Maybe it is, but in any case, I just wanted to show it to you because I feel like it's a perfect match. Okay, so the deck that I wanted to show you is the Mayos Tarot card, Tarot of the Garden. So I have shown this deck when I was doing a couple of weeks ago. Don't remember specifically. It is one of the decks that I found at the Tokyo Tarot Museum. So it's for sale in Japan, as I said. It is by a Japanese author. But this one was also for sale at Kinokuniya. So Kinokuniya is a Japanese store, but we have Kinokuniya all around the world. We have one in Sydney, there's one in New York, there's one in San Francisco. I don't remember where else, but in any case, it might be possible to still buy this deck. My apologies, I do believe though that it's not that easy. it's not that easy to find it. And I hope that you don't fall in love with this deck, although at the same time I hope you do, like I did, because it's just absolutely fantastic. The vibes of this deck are absolutely amazing. And I believe that for a number of reasons, obviously also related to the aesthetics for sure, it pairs up really nicely with the Unicorn's Journey Oracle. And so let me just show you. So we are looking at a world that is softer. It is a softer world. When it comes to the tarot deck, it's a softer world. And it might be due to probably the aesthetics, as I said, the choices made by the illustrator, but also the choices made by the creator of the deck, because we're looking at a tarot deck that is based on the IWS system, but at the same time, it does show you things through a kind of a softer veil. And so I was looking at these two together, I was using them, and I was thinking that there is a sense of bringing it back to the present. So you're kind of transported into a surreal, softer, tender kind of reality thanks to the tarot deck. But the Oracle deck is transporting you back into solid ground. And so there is this sense of being complementary decks, and at the same time using each other's energies that are not necessarily the same, but they work really, really well together. So I don't know if you can see that, I don't know if you can feel it. I also have to say, in some cases when it comes to the tarot deck, some of the minor cards are a bit peepish, as you can see here. Not all of them, and there's always a bit of an intention when you see the cards. So I would say it's not one of those decks that feels like the manos are just lazy peeps. And if you know which ones I'm talking about. It feels like there's a lot of intention behind the creation of these cards. And ironically, the Unicorn's Journey Oracle actually brings out the intention of the tarot cards when you're reading with both of them. So I really, really like this type of exercise. There's also something to be said about the minors of the tarot deck that have been renamed, of course. So for example, ground is pentacles, which is probably easier to understand, ground, earth, pentacles. Agasha is actually air, so swords. So obviously we need to know that in order to be able to use this. But there is this sense of, the evaluation, appraisal, choices, scrutiny, and the 5 of Agasha, which, as I said, is the 5 of swords. So there is this sense of being in a situation in which you are asked or tasked to perform in a certain way in order to be evaluation. But that is not your environment, and it's almost as if you're really good at running, but you had to confront yourself with swimmers, and the task at hand is to swim. And so it's not what you do best. So be very careful about not comparing yourself to others when there's no elements in common. And the 4 of grounds gives you that sense of being steady, even too much sometimes. Sometimes it tells you that your roots are way too strong for you. They kind of represent an obstacle for your movement. So it's really, as I said again, I really feel that Lisa's Oracle deck really gives you the possibility to build a story. It is a very eloquent deck. And so no matter, I'm sure that there's so many other decks out there you can use it with that are going to be absolutely fantastic and give you an amazing experience. But I just wanted to show you these ones because these are the ones that I, in my experience, really enjoyed using with this deck. And I can say I'm very, very happy that Lisa has sent me this prototype. I really love it. It feels absolutely amazing. And yes, I know that there will be, as I said at the beginning of this video, a few changes that will be made in, between this version and the final version. But it's very nice, and I feel very confident in saying that if you choose to back this deck, the Kickstarter campaign is not gonna make you absolutely frustrated and upset, because I have been backing Kickstarter campaigns that made me absolutely livid with fury for the way in which the creators treated their backers. Lisa is absolutely lovely. She is always on our side. Whenever there's a question, she will answer that, I'm sure, 100%. So I feel, off the top of my heart, I feel highly recommend backing this deck. It's going to be an amazing experience, and it's a fantastic deck. So as I said, oh, by the way, I will put the link in the description box below for those of you who just want to click on it and go to the Kickstarter campaign page. That is it for now. My first video back. Number of issues as always, but such is life. And you will see a lot more of me in the future, because I want to go back to a normal schedule. You know, hopefully my health will improve, but for now this is it, and have a great day. Bye.